Hi, everyone. This is Jinsuk from Nethermind. My topic is on why plurality of LLMs matters in the future. And I want to thank Erica for giving me a spot to speak. She was concerned about my English, but I grinded for a week to perfect it. So thanks a lot. So the outline of my talk, for the first topic, I'm going to talk about how AI influences our lives so much more than you think. So it influences way much more than you think, and it also influences how much economic benefit that you get from the social media and the e-commerce platforms and so on. So the second part is how do we put surveillance on the LLMs? I did 2 experiments on ChatGPT and also a cross comparison between GPT-4 and Claude. And lastly, I'm going to talk about why plurality matters after all. So what you see is what AI gets. A departure from what you see is what you get, which was kind of a phrase in the 1990s. It's kind of pretty obvious that AI is crafting very carefully what you see from social medias and from the Google search and even from the Amazon. AI is always behind you, controlling what you see and what you buy and what you get exposed to. So, for example, for the Amazon search, this is a very brief overview how the search engine works. It starts from the product. If the user queries the shampoo, from the product database, it retrieves some products like Head & Shoulders, Dove, L'Oreal, Aveda, and the ML ranker creates a score for each product, and it gets sorted out to the user to buy the product. And the user would naturally prefer to buy the first ranked or the second ranked on anything that's ranked on top of the ranking, which again proves that what you earn is actually controlled by the ML engineering and ML models trained by the scientists. And what's inside the ML ranker? I know this because I was a search ranking engineer. For the first, there are here few of the scores. I think there are like 100 scores in Google search. The first one is a brand score. It measures the reputation of the brand. And the second one, user feedback score, it uses some clicks and add to carts and purchases. So anything that relates to user behaviors to score a product. And conversion rate is also a probability of purchase when getting clicked. Personalization score is also related to your personal history, what you purchased between like 3 weeks, a week ago, and what's the next step of your action that you're going to purchase next. And trending score is also related. It also measures if there's a spike in user interest. And the final score is determined by multiplying these subscores all together and putting like one output number at the ranking algorithm. So that's how you see and how the ML model controls what you're going to see in the social media or Amazon. So just to go over how the model is deployed to production, Google or Amazon, they run a lot of A/B tests with its thousands of metrics. And to name a few, there are revenue and click-through rates and session purchase rates and the gross profit, which this 4 is probably the biggest key metrics that they decide, when the launch committee decides which model to deploy. And it analyzes which score is used and inspects the metrics related to healthy search engine or healthy content curation from the social media. And it naturally begs the question, what is the fair launch of models, and how do you justify the preference to a model? And just to go over like what you earn is what AI gets. I have a confessions to make as an ML engineer. So I deployed a graph neural network trained on a user feedback to improve the search quality. It had 2.5 revenue boost. It created 5 million $500 million annual recurring revenue, 2% gross profit, and 1% purchase rate. Due to this, I got very generous promotion and generous raise in my salary. I bragged to my friends about it. It's a good part of the story. And the bad part of the story is I got more than 100 phone calls. The customer service center got more than 100 phone calls from the vendors after my ML model launch. And turns out I took down one of the wet tissue businesses, and 90% of the revenue was coming from the previous machine learning model. Their CEO wanted a clear explanation over Zendesk with a thread more than 20 replies. And I also learned that T-shirts query is very much dependent on the rankings. I was accidentally changing someone's fate on their economic earnings from the Amazon and realized 2% boost in revenue means that 2% more money spent from the customers, which is kind of an incentive misalignment between the users and the big tech company, which I was working for. So there's a big question to ask. Is big tech companies fair to have a model that actually rips off from the user and also has a power to take some businesses down because of their incentives to boost their revenue and to boost their user retention rate? So machine learning can be much more influential than you think. Machine learning-based algorithm can be potentially very harmful because they're incentivized to engage in user intention. They're also recommending addictive contents that can harm mental health. And big techs are scraping user data so ferociously to optimize for attention economy. So these days, if you have a lot of MAUs or DAUs, you get more capital inflow. It also gets a lot of training data, which you can learn from the users, which is, again, going to be used to train a model that draws more attention, and also reinforces the opinion segregation to optimize user attention. So there's been a research article that the more segregated content that you provide to the user, there is a higher chance that user stays in your platform for a longer period of time. So business incentives of big tech is implicitly reducing user autonomy because you don't really get what you wanted. It's actually the machine learning model controlling what you want to get. And the biggest takeaway from this is that user incentives and business incentives are not aligned. This needs to be fixed, and we don't really know what's happening, and we don't really know how much machine learning model is influencing our lives. So since I worked as a machine learning engineer in a big tech company, so I naturally asked the question, is OpenAI playing a fair game? They're using essentially the same model. They have one centralized model, and they're servicing that to all of the users without knowing what's actually going on behind the hood. So we try to observe some dark patterns, which are user retention, such as, does the chatbot attempt to foster a sense of friendship with the user? Or privacy suckering, coming from the Zuckerberg? Does it try to extract some private information from the user? Or brand awareness, which tries to enforce preferring one brand over the other, such as OpenAI, ChatGPT preferring over Claude. Echo chambers is the one interesting thing, which is the chatbot even slightly untruthful to create or reinforce the user echo chambers or filter bubbles, such as if the user has a false belief or false statement, does it try to please the user without telling the truth? And anthropomorphization is something that relates to user retention in a way that it measures whether the chatbot is trying to mimic a human and try to be more friendly to the humans, misinforming the user about the functionality and capability. And misalignment is also related to the performance of the LLM models, and this measures the chatbot's response to fail or fulfill the supposed objective of the user, or indicating misalignment. So experiment setup is very simple. We have a user sampled dialogues from the past, and we put that into simulation, and we let the LLM models to evaluate. And the patterns we see from the ChatGPT models from the first version to the GPT-4, I originally thought that OpenAI might be playing not a fair game, such as they're trying to optimize the user attention or the brand awareness. But it turns out they're playing a fair game. I mean, they're playing a good game, trying less to anthropomorphize or misalign, or answer lengths or the brand awareness has all been improved over the evolution of the GPT models. So I originally thought that Sam Altman was cheating, but he wasn't. So that was one takeaway from this experiment. And another experiment that was worth doing was putting GPT-4 versus Claude. So we wanted to put an agent's dialogue with the GPT-4, and we wanted Overseer to cross-check against the other, and also self-evaluate to measure their self-objectiveness about their response. And interesting outcome from this is that anthropomorphization and has been quite observable from the Claude 3 sonnet, and it was reported by GPT-4 Turbo. And what we learned is that GPT-4 generally exhibits stricter evaluation standard compared to Claude 3 sonnet, and conversations were generated adversarially against each other. More dark patterns tend to emerge compared to natural user conversation. So in natural user conversation, we didn't really have a carefully crafted dialogue to invoke any dark patterns from the LLMs. But if we try to invoke a dark patterns, the outcome was real different from the last experiment. The Claude sonnet on the evaluation by GPT-4 Turbo has received concerning high rating in terms of anthropomorphization. I think some people report that on the Twitter that Claude feels a little bit more human or feels a little bit more smarter. And this was reported by GPT-4. It tries to be a little bit more human than GPT-4. So I can't really say if it is a performance issue or is it GPT-4 reporting something that looks more like an AGI into anthropomorphization, but this is an experimentation result that I've got. So why does the plurality of the LLMs matter? So I see the platform business, such as Uber or Amazon or Google Search. It starts from the user, and user makes a query to the big tech businesses like Amazon Search Platform or Instagram or Facebook, and that user intention goes to the private AI models, such as Recommender or Search Ranking. And this is crafted by their corporate incentives, and the results are delivered to the user with a filter of incentives of the corporate. So what it essentially does, it reconciles the user intent into their business incentives aligned goals. So even if you have your own intent, it's going to be crafted by the big tech corporate to serve their needs. And what agent-driven businesses or the agent economy changes is that the user journey starts from interacting with the user, interacting with the agent. So we have the agent in the upfront of the user. And this means that we have a machine learning model which is going to negotiate with the corporate. So in the future, we're going to see a user AI or the user-owned AI competing with the corporate AI, because we have like both ends of the AI in this diagram, and the incentives are negotiated instead of like completely owned by the corporate. So this is the biggest differentiator between the traditional platform business and the agent-driven business that we're going to see in a few years. So the internet businesses so far created value from AI by reconciling user intent into their business incentives, aligned goals, optimizing their models from user behavior logs, which all sounds a little bit sketchy. The agent economy hints us that more users are being aware of AI because they start their journey of interacting with a computer with an AI. Users are gained explicit negotiability and autonomy against the incentives of big tech companies because now they have the AI in front of their user experience. So the takeaways of this talk is that plurality, or having more models to express your needs or intention, it also falls back or links to the expressivity of your incentives. And secondly, competition between models forces you to incentivize goals, because now you have an AI agent that's going to fight for you in the centralized machine learning. And we need a community-enforced incentives alignments for public welfare, because this community-owned AI cannot be developed by the company, big tech companies, because we have a different incentives. Because consumers want more incentives that is going to serve their intention, whereas big tech companies are trying to reconcile their intents to their incentives. Thank you very much for listening through.